energy. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. So should I just introduce myself, Jim, or what?
Yes, I'll let you
Okay.
introduce yourself and
I
go
mean,
for it.
okay. I'm Gail Minogue, and today I'm going to be speaking about 2022, the year number 6, as far as numerology goes. And I welcome questions, so because I think that's how we really learn. And so I will begin by giving you a statement basically about the number 6 and about the number 5, which was 2021. You have to understand that America is a 5 country, which means that it is was basically born in a kind of chaotic situation. We have, why am I seeing everybody's, can we, yeah. Okay, can we mute right now, everything, yeah, like messages and all that stuff. We're glad to take that in a while, but it's
Hang on,
just,
let me do this.
yeah.
Okay, now, unfortunately, I think I just muted you, so I'm going to have to unmute. Hang on, where is you? Unmute
Okay.
yourself.
I did. Okay, so if you look at the birthing of the United States in the number 5 of a 5 life path, and the chaos that was born in at the time of its birth, and you realize that it basically was formed by a group of rebellion, angry, violent people, and there's nothing that should surprise you about history with the United States, that this pattern is continued on throughout its history and in its future. So in looking at timeframes, the most we have gone as far as peacetime without being at war somewhere or supporting war somewhere is 24 years. In the last 250, we have only been out of a war condition for 24 years. That's the longest we've ever made it. So we just came supposedly out of one this year. We'll see, because we have tremendous amount of, I call them lily pods around the world, where we have small bases in Africa. There's about 250 to 300 of these small bases where we can, again, have control or be a participant in what's going on in that nation. So the number 5 of 2021, which is leading up to this year, numbers 2022, was a 5-year, and it started with a bang, which was the riot last year ago, and proceeded to have a lot of noise all year, which is very 5-ish. 5 is always about movement, destruction, construction, and it is very much was typical of last year. And we have, if you do a planetary, I leave you all to do the planetary, but in order to understand the deception of the people involved in producing this lie about the election, it continues on into 2022. What's different about 2022 and being a 6 year is the 6 number is always the 3 words you want to relate to the number 6 is structure, function, and order. Structure, function, and order. And basically in your own life, but the 6 is all about structure, function, and order. And so the thing that each of us is going to have to learn to do in this year, whether you're in a 4-personal year or a 5-personal year, doesn't matter. The whole environment is about structure, function, and order. So you have to have a structure to your own life, and this is going to help it function and give you order. So this is the pressure on the world at this time, is to set up a structure that it can function and deliver order. If you remember, we had 10 years of the number 6 in 1960. What that was like, it was constantly about social injustice. And we had assassinations, we had the Vietnam War, bring them home, marches, Kent State, we had all kinds of rebellions going on for social injustices, mercy, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to see, again, that emphasis in 2022 on social justice and causes, because the 6 always has a cause. So it's just, which cause will it be? Who's going to have the best narrative for 2022? And everything is about the narrative, okay? People vote on an idea, okay? If they think that person can deliver that idea, then that's who they'll follow. If the person gets off the idea and goes for their own personal power, and the people really are still on that idea, then that person will lose power. And this is what happened to Trump. He got caught up in his own power, and he forgot his idea of make America great again. And that was the voting, why they all thought, oh, good, yeah, I'll bring him in, we'll make America great again, because all the grievances. But anyway, he forgot. He went for his own power, he lost it. So the narrative is extremely important. So what I would suggest this year is to pay close attention to who has the best narrative. And the problem with the Democrats this year is I can't find a narrative. I can't see any narrative that is an idea that the people are getting behind. It is, again, it's going to go for justice, a cause, mercy, all of that, and health. So these are going to be the emphasis of this year, is a lot on health, and it's going to be personal responsibility. So you may see finally a backlash from those who are vaccinated and those who are having to put up with this spread, those who are taking up space in the hospital because they're so sick, and those who cannot go to the hospital because they had a heart attack, resentment. So there could be, because 6 is always about health, there could be some type of backlash on the health industry. My feeling is there'll be, again, since it will be devoted to health, it will be about not just eating right, but coming up with remedies for this so that you can use these. This is like if you have the flu, you take X, Y, and Z. If you have COVID, you take X, Y, and Z, and you could do that at home. But the whole idea is definitely going to push health. It'll definitely push the personal responsibility area of health. You're going to have to take better care of your body this year, nutritionally, every which way, because of the number 6. And that is, even if you're in a 1 year personally, it doesn't matter. That energy is affecting you. It's like you're in a soup. You may be the potatoes in the soup, but you're still in the soup. And so that's the kind of energy that we're going to have. I think you're going to have some of these programs that came out of the 5-year, the social justice solidify this year. And when we come down to it, I don't see, and this is Gail's projection, I don't see us getting what we really want until we get past 2028. So you're going to have a couple more years of crap, and you'll have 2024, and then what's the effect of 2024? But what you really want is to be in 2029. So we have to get past the next 2 elections, and the presidential elections. But this year alone will be different than the 5. It's not that it won't be dramatic, but that it will be more, remember, structure, function, order. So if you just write those 3 words, what is the structure of your life? How does it function? Does it function well for you? And does it give you a sense of order that you can operate? Because the first law of the universe is order. The whole universe wants order. 6 is one of the most powerful numbers. It really, everything you look at has a hexagonal shape to it. And I don't care what it is, if it's a spider, a honeycomb, or what have you. So this is the energy you're in. And I really believe that the crazies of this number 5 year, which brought in all of this episodes of the threat to democracy, which is very real. It is very real. It isn't something somebody cooked up, and just said, let's make that the narrative. It's a very real thing. But if you go back in our history, we have had some form of fascism, that there's a whole thread underlying our entire history. And it's nothing new. It's just it's fully blossomed through the 5 into your face. And I did in my blog this week, I wrote a blog. I don't know if anybody got the blog, if you have it, but I did a blog on mentioning a book called The Ruthless Leader. And it's wonderful. And I highly recommend it. It's by Thomas McAlpin. And it really critiques the prince, Machiavelli, the prince. And it critiques the art of war, which is like 500 BC. And then the servant, which is that person or the group of people, mainly it's one person, who really supports, say, the prince, to make sure that this idea or narrative or manipulation gets handled. And you find that once you tell an untruth, if you've done this well enough, the people will get behind the falsehood and run with it. And that is just what we see with the Republican Party doing with this falsehood about the election stolen. So it is, again, this year, there will be, as we get closer to the election, things are going to change somewhat. When, the primaries are in the spring, and then the election is in the fall. But as this solidifies, this number 6 solidifies from structure of function and order. You see what people getting more nervous about the threat to democracy. 83% of the participants in this country, the citizens, whether the Republican or Democrat, 83% feel that democracy is being threatened. So if that narrative can be kept, that democracy is being threatened by what, blah, blah, fill in the blank, who has the best narrative and can deliver it, that's the person who will get, that's the candidate who will be elected, whether it's, I don't care, dog catcher, okay? And so it's pay attention to whose idea, because that's what people get behind. And they will support the leader who is strong in that idea. Once the leader gets off of that idea, he loses the people or she loses the people. If you don't have an idea and you're just doing it alone on your own power, that doesn't work very well and you don't stay in power very long. So pay attention to what is being said this year, the structure that's being set up. And I do think that the COVID is the whole idea that we're in this great infection period. Well, we are. I mean, I had dinner Tuesday night. I was supposed to have dinner with 3 people. One of them couldn't show because she had COVID. I go get my hair done and I find out the parents of my hairdresser both have COVID. I mean, I just got, this weekend, I just found out that when I went to visit my husband, I could go in because this new patient they brought in tested positive for COVID. And I was like, oh, wow. So it's very infectious. However, it is weaker and it is not putting those people in the hospital unless you are not vaccinated. There was one doctor I spoke with, and she said that all of the people in the ICU who have COVID were unvaccinated. So that is, you've got to keep this in perspective. We're testing more. The more you test, the more you're going to find. And it's a matter of people having that structure, they quarantine, have that structure. And the narrative keeps changing in all this because the COVID keeps changing. The promise here was it was overpromised in the election that I'm going to take care of this, we'll take it. So Biden overpromised. And it's not surprising in a 5-year, we inflate, we embellish, we're salespeople. The United States, if nothing else, is a country that markets and sells. It sells anything. It will sell rusty nails if they could have a good narrative behind that product. And so you want to take a look at, that was the 5-year. Now we have to we get more serious this year about the structure of what we're doing and how it functions. And that's what we're going to start seeing play out from all these crazy politicians. In the long term, once you get past the next couple of years, you will start to, what I call, move out of this earth energy that we've been in for a couple hundred years into the air energy, and we will start to I won't say reverse right away, but certainly leave with this where you control the whole planet and use it for your own usage. That will start to fade, which is part of this problems with destruction of the earth, which we've been doing for at least 200 years, using it, damaging it. This is going to start coming to an end later in this 2020s. The two of the number 2 is, of course, the interdependent cooperative number, but we have never been there in thousands of years. So we are learning how do you cooperate? And it's so obvious. And we have these armed camps. And so this 10-year period of the number 2 forces us to really, especially we have 222 in 2022, you're going to have to cooperate in this setting up the structure. And so part of it is learning, how do we cooperate? How do we see the other person's point of view? And right now they're just 2 armed camps. And so it is pretty obvious. The blessing of COVID is that it really exposed a lot of the crap that is America's, America's the quality, okay? America's function, and how dysfunctional America is. And it shows all of this right there, it's big warts and all, and the damage that we do to ourselves here, and all the corruption, the exposure. So you have this COVID come along and say, hey, you're not going to pay attention. This could have been done earlier. It came in the air sign of Gemini, rules the lungs. It was supposed to do that, but people wouldn't, these crazies who will be so independent and won't get vaccinated because of whatever. And yet when they get into the ICU, they'll beg and take any kind of medication to keep themselves alive. So it's pretty hypocritical, but it's basically a lack of awareness. And it's, again, that same group from the revolution. 40% of colonists wanted to stay with King George. So this is how you start, and that's how we started. And then there was another, after we won and we formed the country, there was another small revolution, a rebellion, and Washington had to send in about 500 troops to put that down. And so it's always been an issue of us and them. And so our job as a 5 country was to learn to assimilate. Right from the beginning, we were at odds with each other, and we have odds with each other today. So this is a real turning point in the consciousness of America to go from a barbarian to a civilized nation. And it is 1,000 years of the number 2. It's 2,000 to 2,999. We're only in the first 20 years of it, barely hanging in there. But now this is a very strong period of learning to cooperate, work in see the what I call the union, and the union is at stake. So it is a very important time this year, the 6th year, to bring that structure in, to bring that sense of order in. Now, what will happen, we have exposed a lot of what we'll call the police, and we need the police. We really have to have that. It's just, how do we train them? What do we allow? Since when is it okay to use an assault weapon in a Burlington coat factory store to shoot somebody who is holding a bicycle lock on a chain? When is it okay just to bring in that assault rifle into a store? Why do they need assault rifles? And that goes back, I think, to the 90s, when Los Angeles had a couple of bank robbers almost defeat LAPD because they had these automatic rifles, the robbers did, and the LAPD was short of weaponry. It didn't have as advanced. So from that day forward, I think it was 97, they started to take the military weaponry, and anytime the military wanted to deliver more, pretty much free, here, excessive military weapons, it go to the local police, who really should not be using them in certain situations, and yet they keep doing it and injuring and killing more people. So this is unfortunate, but again, these are one of these things that I think you will find as we start to expose all this sense of order and justice, that this is going to be really raised this year in 2022, is about the police, the weaponry, how we train them, all of this. This is going to be very much on the radar this year, along with health. And another thing that will be on the radar this year is families and how we handle families. So childcare, all these things that have to do with family responsibilities, that's going to be up for grab as we get into the year, will be families, domestic responsibility, justice, social injustice, mercy, and how we handle all of that. And then, of course, health. So my feeling is we will see some products that we will be able to use to treat COVID if you get it, and that it also, that they will be more, we will be getting what I would say more normalcy by May. And so here we are in February, March, April, and well, January too. And, but you should be seeing pretty much, not that we don't have COVID, of course we're gonna have COVID, but it is this incredible surging as it leaves, say, the West Coast, it'll go to the Midwest as it goes through the country. And I would say that we should be maybe the worst of it behind us by May. And so a lot of our economics are tied to it around the world. You're going into the 6 year. 6 is usually a very good business number, money number. And so this is an area, if you know, who knows, but we have the volatility in the stock market based on a lot of what's going on in the rest of the world. You're going to have high prices, you're going to have inflation, not just, we could get COVID past May, but you still have umpteen back channels that are stopped or stuffed. Or it's like what's going on right now in China, where they're isolating, delivering food to people, locking them in and not allowing them to get out for a few weeks. That means you have large, vast parts of the country not vaccinated, and you can't stop Omicron. You can't stop it. And the problem is, if it starts hitting China hard, you are going to find that we rely a lot on China for our products for so many things, that this could really affect supply chain more, and it also could affect pricing more. So I would anticipate, even if we get better, if we decide to bring home industry and do more in the United States, it will be definitely more expensive, because our salaries and incomes our hourly wages are going up. 6 tends to be the number where you take care of. This is that number where you'll see we're going to pay these essential workers more. It's going to cost more in overtime. It's more money for these products, services, etc. So inflation is our partner this year. Going forward, it's definitely going to affect, again, anything that we are responsible for, such as the economy, such as the health. All of these will be addressed. And unfortunately, this is my sense of looking at what's out there, that Biden does not have, I don't know whether his advisors are not, or he's not listening to advice, but he doesn't have the narrative. And without a narrative, you're not going to win elections. And without a narrative that people can get behind, you're not, and you cannot overpromise. Underpromise and overdeliver should be your motto as a politician. Underpromise and overdeliver, and that'll keep you going. But this guy has made the mistake of overpromising because he thought, you're not going to be able to defeat a virus. I'm sorry. They've lived here longer than we have, and they will mutate and do whatever they're going to do. So it's not that you kill it off, or you can learn to live with it. We have certainly come a long way in a very short period of time with vaccines and all that. If you can think about one day you wake up completely healthy in the morning, you get the Spanish flu later that day, and you're dead by the next morning. That's how fast it went. So we've come a long, long way, and people forget history. Americans are very used to changing history. They're very much interested in revising the past, and they look forward to the future. That's Americans. They don't have any patience, and they revise the past so it sounds better, or we forget the past, or right now we have these situations in the country where people don't want to know about racial, how we had slavery, or we don't want a history of it because it makes the white people look bad, or it makes the white children feel guilty. And so we have to learn that this is part and parcel of what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, and my feeling is this will take all of the 20s to get, say, some type of referendum or something for term limits for these people. You're going to have these people in power for several years till we can get them off stage, from Pelosi to McConnell to all of these entrenched power people. The average age of the United States Senate is 64. The average age of the American is 38. And so we have a situation where we have representation of not the average American at all. And you also have a situation where the House is younger, but still it's in the 54, 55, the average age. And so the idea that you have this condition where we're going to just change everything with an election is not possible. It does influence and change. It could make things worse, can make things better. But the bigger picture is not going to really play out till we get through the 20s, till we get to what we're wanting more with seeing the other point of view. I wonder if we could we cut out the chats I'm seeing, all these comments? Is there some way to hold off the comments? They're very distracting as I'm speaking. They keep popping up at me. And they're basically comments, they're not questions. They're just people commenting among themselves. Could you take care of that for me, Jim? I would appreciate it. Yeah?
I will see what I can do.
Yeah, okay. It's basically just the comments. It's not even questions. But every time, they just keep popping up. Everybody can read them, and they're distracting. Thank you. Okay. So, or maybe just tell people not, wait till we'll get into Q&A or something like that. But for this year, and again, you could, I'm going into, my birthday's in February. And so I'm going to start my birthday. I start to feel the energy of the new year coming in December, November, because I'm born early in the year. If I was born later in the year, say in September, and I'm a Virgo or something like that, I'm going to feel the energy of this year later in the year. But I'm already feeling the effects of, I'm going into a 5-year. So I would anticipate a lot of, I don't know how it could get more surprising. I've had so many surprises this past year. I moved, I sold my house. I had to put my husband in another facility. He had brain surgery. I had this place remodeled. I mean, it just was on and on. And as I said, this weekend, I just found out that the facility I have him in just got COVID down. And so now, and he's sick, and it goes on and on, this wonderful 5 energy year. Because whatever year you were in 2021 bleeds into the next few months. You're always in January working with the old energy, you know, Janus, the past, the future. You're always working with the past and the future in January, February. If you look at lives, nothing much gets going before March. That's the third month. And that's, it's like ready, get set. So ready in January, get set in February, go in March. And that's where you want to launch. So things that maybe I had planned, like I had planned a program the end of February. I'm canceling due to the Omicron because it's in live and I don't want to do live that soon. And so we'll put everything off till later in March, which is fine with me because we got Venus retrograde, I think, right now, and then Mercury goes retrograde. So let's just get past all this. And my birthday's in February, so let's get all that over with. And then March is a good time, ready, get set, go. People will start spending money more. Right now, everybody's in fear. Fear. And I mean, of course, look at the narratives. Look at the narratives. It's almost like you have to stop counting because you're going to have a lot more positive COVIDs because you're testing more. And once you start testing more, all these people that were walking around, they didn't know they had it. They test positive. It's like, really? And so in a way, it's good they limited it to 5 days quarantine, but then you need to retest again. But they left that part out. And that's what I'm saying. Structure, form, okay? And so there's no structure. If the structure is poor, they set it up wrong. And they set it up like they knew that they could control this and they have no control. And they can affect it, but if it wants to morph, and right now, 1/3 of the deer population in America is infected. And so they have tested the antibodies in deer and they find that they had it. And then they find deer that have it. So could that be another variant where it jumps from an animal to a human, another variant? It's possible. So what you want to stay is flexible. Again, a 6 year, you want to take care of your health, where you could get away with things before. You're not going to be able to do it much this year. You have to eat better, sleep better, and cut down your stress level. If looking at transits or looking at the newspaper, looking at social media, stop it. Okay, just slow it down, cut it out, limit yourself so that you don't frighten yourself or you don't get caught up in these theories. Because underneath it all, there's a plan in place. America was always built to really be the assimilator for the world. And it hates having to assimilate. You know, first they came in, the Germans, Benjamin Franklin made fun of them. And then, you know, each group that comes in, there's the worst, and then the next layer comes in. So right now, before Trump got into office, so say 2016, we had over 1 million immigrants coming into this country. And now we have 247,000. So where did these immigrants go? Well, they went into a lot of the service jobs and a lot of the construction jobs. And guess where you're missing workers? You're missing workers in those two areas. So we need to get going back on immigration because this is a nation of immigrants. So the very thing we did wrong was to prevent that from happening. And we pay a price. So the price you pay, gonna be higher prices. So there's a price to pay for every decision. You either pay up front or you pay at the back end. Okay, so now we're paying in the back end of not allowing immigrants to come in and do the lower paying job. It's just, and also, here's another number that most people are not aware. We have 20 million felons in America. Now, 20 million felons did not go out always and kill, murder, maim people. Some of them were, you know, younger. I have a very close friend who has a felony on his record that he got when he was like 16 or 17. He wasn't actually involved at all in the drug thing that went down, but he was a friend of some friend and they knew. And so he got caught in the loop and he now has a felony and he's now in his 40s and he takes low-end jobs, poorly paid. and versus having this expunged and moving back into society. And these are workers that we could use in our society. So there's 20 million of them. How many could be expunged and be able to be useful taxpayers and everything else in our society? So these are the decisions we make because of who we are and how we do punishment in this country. We're very punitive, revengeful, and we have this what's happening now has been coming for years and years and years. It isn't anything that just happened because of Trump at all. And so we want to not, he's just a symbol, okay? And so it's, what does America really want? Is it worth it? Does it want the union or not? It's trying very hard to have a weakened central government, and yet it runs to the government for money, for this, for that. If you get your house burned down in Colorado, you run to the government for money. If you get a hurricane in Houston, you run to the government for money. So we expect the government to save us, but yet we don't want the government to be that strong. We don't want them intruding and telling us to get mandated vaccines, even though they did that for the polio and others. And we went along and we saved lives, but we're not going to do this now because we have gotten on our high horse over the years. And again, it's the nature of the beast. The nature of the Americans are rebellion, anger, and the individual. And so they're always talking about individual rights. And of course, that's very Aquarian. And the Aquarian age supports the United States. But it's not to just be an individual, it's to learn to be an individual in the collective. So until we can learn to be an individual in the collective, we will pay the price. So I wrote this week about, well, what happens if we have a bunch of states' rights and vigilantes going out here, taking the law into their own hands, like they in the murder in Georgia, or you see the abortion thing in Texas, and now Governor Newsom is trying to get the same thing in gun control. So the gun manufacturers will have to pay the price if they supply XYZ gun in California. And so it's vigilante justice, and it's all part and parcel of I'm an individual, and I'm not going to support the collective. And so that doesn't work. That's the job of the United States. The assignment of the United States at its birth was to learn to assimilate the individual in the collective, because the whole idea of the age of Pisces was the collective. And you had all those religions come up, and again, during the age of Aquarius, they're all to die off. And so that's again, a very long-term, couple of 1,000-year activity, but it's going to be very strong in this 100-year period, is to downplay and diminish and continue to diminish religions, all of them. And so, because the Aquarian age is about reasoning, enlightenment, again, the individual in the collective. And you see a perfect example of that, where the individual is fighting for his or her rights, his ability to keep his guns, God and religion and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the collective, which says, hey, we need to get vaccinated so we don't keep spreading this around everywhere, and we keep people safe, and say, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to wear a mask, and I'll be damned if I wear a mask. Well, so I asked, remember I said, America is learning to go from a barbarian state into a civilized nation. After civilized nation, you go into a decadent nation, which is pretty much what Europe is going into. And so you have barbarian, civilized, decadent. And what you have here is you have Canada, and you have the United States, and you have Mexico, where all three were colonies. So basically they're pretty much, except Canada is certainly making headways where what we call immaturity, and more, Canada is more advanced, more civilized. America is going back and forth, and Mexico has to struggle from the barbarian to a civilized nation. It's got even more work to do. So any place that was colonized has this challenge. And so America is no different. but its job being, it had a terrific birth chart, a very fortunate birth chart. And when it gets through this period, it should be able to recover when it gets out of the 20s. So the whole idea is to get it through the 20s, at least damage as possible. And this will be a very important year because it leads to that structure, function, and order. And again, start with our own lives. I mean, this is a great time to do it because it is January, is to start putting a structure to your life. What the heck are you doing? And then to put that foundation or form, shall we say, and then the sense of order it will bring you. Okay, so without that, you know, and again, the first law of the universe is order. So we have to learn to do that. So this year, if you are born in the early part of the year, terrific, you'll feel that energy much stronger in the beginning if you, based on your personal year. So, you know, I think you all know how to get your personal year, which is extremely important. And that is from the month and the day added together. So say you were born, what is today, the 9th? So 9 and 1 is a 10 or a 1. You would add that to the universal year. So in 2022, you would be in a, what is that? Oh, 6 years. So yeah, you would have that as, you would add that 1 and that 9, or the 1 to the 6 year, which would be the 7. So even though your universal year is 6, your personal year would be 7. And the 7 has its own qualities, and those are going to play out very strongly. So remember, you're the potato in the stew or the soup. You're going to still be the potato. You still have to do what a potato does, but you have to remember the soup you're in. And so I'm going into a 5 year, so I have to make a lot of changes, or they're going to change me, whether I like it or not. I know that. I could feel it coming down the road. I've already been offered an apartment up in San Francisco if I want to move. And I'm like, I mean, it's a rent control, so it's almost no rent. And do I want that? And I'm like, oh wow, that mean moving Richard and moving me and the expense and you know, so it is things that I never would have thought of, and that's kind of a 5 personal year. And so, but I have to do that in a 6 construct, and the structure of the 6, and the structure of the 6 is always family responsibility. So the family is going to be focused on, and one of the things that America loves is housing. Okay, and housing, even though you see interest rates or the potential, because the feds are cutting back on going to start cutting back and want to have all this money they've been giving into the banks and everything for keeping the interest rate almost at 0, was to make sure we didn't go into recession. Well, we don't have that problem now. And so we have high inflation. We have just the opposite. And so you want to start considering that in this year, 6 rules housing. So housing, one of the things about America, it wants you to own a home. It wants you to own a home. And when this gets so hard to buy a home, I think you're going to see some federal or national programs that are going to help people get into housing. Or you're going to see housing made out of different materials than the old-fashioned lumber way we did it, made out of lumber, so that you can have more housing. You're already starting to see that in California, where they've passed these laws at Sacramento. They're not going to do a whole lot, but they're a starting point. And you're going, because the more people who can own a home, the more voters you get, the more citizenry participation you get. You usually get better neighborhoods kept better because the owner has a stake in the neighborhood versus a renter. And so it behooves the country to have homeowners. So since it's been a very difficult time to buy, prices are very high, and very few of houses available, they're going to start supplying them, and they're going to have programs to make it easier for people to get into them. And so this is another thing to look forward to this year, is the housing market. Right now, once they start pulling back that money, and they should have it finished by the end of March, Will they start raising the rate a little bit in March? I think so, but it's going to be so little, it's not going to affect loans that much. You would have to get to probably 4% interest rate for a loan before you're going to start seeing buyers leave. And of course, once buyers leave or people aren't getting the money they were from all these programs, and the stock market is not delivering what it did in 2021, which it will not be doing in 2022, then people will start second guessing whether they should purchase that home or whether you're going to have so many people bidding for the same house. So housing is going to be a big important area this year for different reasons. And so I remember I sold my house a year ago, well, not a year ago, almost a year ago, early in 2021. And I remember my broker saying, stay out of the market for 2 to 3 years, Gail, don't come back in. And that's about right. So we'll get through this year. And the following year, you should be able to see a better situation for buyers than you are now, or you will in 2022. But I think that you will see definitely the focus will be on housing. How do we get more Americans into home ownership? Right now, the city of Los Angeles is about 63% renters, which is a very low rate of homeowners. And the lower the rate of homeowners, if there is a tendency, if it becomes too high in renters, which it is right now, and keeps growing, you'll see a backlash or a protest of the landlords. I mean, a real protest where you will force some of these giant landlords that own thousands of pieces of property to back off. And also the government making some changes in how many pieces of property a landlord can own. And so we have, right now, we have from the last recession, we have, and they're still going on, we have a lot of hedge funds and other private companies purchasing thousands and thousands of homes and then just renting them out. And if you could just slow the comments down, okay? If you could not comment, if you have questions, that's different, but not comments. And so this is something where we need to make it easier for people to buy so they can have equity and pass that on in their family, et cetera, and build the wealth of this country in a more equal manner. So right now, particularly in California, where a little 1,000 square foot house is at least 2 million in Santa Monica, there's just a lot wrong with the way we do our housing. And of course, California is one of the most expensive states to buy a house in anyway. But that's another, we're not going through that. It's just that there will be the emphasis on housing in 2022. So housing, health, justice, okay? And whoever has the best narrative that people get behind for the election, that's who's gonna win. And right now, we don't know. Right now, they're saying, and it's unfortunate because they keep saying things about certain areas and then they don't come true. So right now they're saying that the Republicans are going to take back the House. It's a done deal and and all that stuff. Well, they may. We'll see what happens in the primaries. The primaries are key to everything. And then who has the best narrative going forward? And what are the people, which narrative are they getting behind? Unfortunately, Kamala Harris and Biden are what I believe to be called placeholders. They're just holding this place in the election. So people came out and voted for Biden because they didn't want any more Trump, and they were worn out from all the stuff that went on. And so that group is still there. They're just worn out, and they don't want to go back. So my feeling is he will not be reelected, and because that's a different day in 24 than 2020 or 2016. And so you have there's going to be a lot of water under the bridge between now and 2024. And my feeling is that Biden won't run, and Kamala Harris is not reelectable. And unfortunately, Biden doesn't have any water in his chart. He is an 11, which is a nice number for a presidency. Biden Obama, Clinton, Reagan, they all had 11 life paths. So they're, they have a prominent ability to inspire people. But Biden has no, he has no fire in his chart. I think he has a rising Sag. That's the fire. That's it. So he comes off as very slow. He doesn't fire anybody up listening to him, which is really unfortunate. But again, he was just the placeover to get rid of Trump, to get somebody else out. Biden is basically a bureaucrat, and he's living in a period where if you read The Ruthless Leader, you understand what you're working with and how to work with it at this time. Okay. The other thing too is about the whole idea of that we can predict everything right now. No, not until you see the narratives shape up. Right now, they're still all over the place. So I'm gonna, because it seems to me we're getting a lot of questions, or people want a question. So first of all, I wanted to make sure you understand how to do your own personal year, so that you can take the month and the day, add it to the number 6, and you will get your personal year. So if you're in a 1 year, if that comes out to be a 1 for you, again, remember the month and day to the number 6 for the universal year. If that comes out and reduces to a 1, you're in a brand new beginning. You need to get your act together and start with your programs and plans, and be like Johnny Appleseed and plant your seeds. Okay. Do not wait for somebody to say, yeah, that's good, go ahead. No. The 1 is independent and alone and stands on its own 2 feet. So it doesn't wait for bravado or, that a girl. No, it just goes. And the number 2 is all about patience, and more patience on cooperation. If you planted in your 1 year, which I just mentioned to do, you plant your seeds, your contacts, network, set it up. Pay attention to who you meet in a 1 year, because they can possibly influence the next 9 years. You're starting a 9-year cycle if you're in a 1 year. So what do you want? And know what you want, so that you can have that next year, the 9 years following, to lay it out and work on it. But if you don't plant the seeds in a 1 year, what are you going to have at year number 4, year number 5, and all of that? So as we get into the year number 2, patience, cooperation, independence, you're more vulnerable. Do not share your ideas that you came up with. Do not, because you're much more vulnerable. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your own counsel in a 2 year. Don't be a doormat, and learn how to use persuasion rather than what we'll call force. Okay, a 2 year.
Gail, could I ask you about 11-2 year?
Yeah, 11 year is more powerful than a basic 2 year, because an 11 year is a master number. So you want to work at a higher level of that. Be more inspirational this year. Pay attention to your dreams. Very, very important, because in 11 year, you're being kind of assaulted from the invisible world. And so you want to pay attention to hunches, hints, messages, weird stuff, and particularly anything that comes in a dream. You may not realize what it is, but they're always letters to you, and you need to learn to open them and read your dream. So the 11 is a good year. Again, you still have to have patience and all of that, but pay attention to ideas you get in an 11 year, because they're trying to really get through to you and inspire you. Okay, and so then in a 3 year, we had all these seeds planted, and now the roots you're finally seeing sprouts because you were patient, and now you got to weed it. You're going to focus on the 1 or 2 ideas that are really terrific, and start running with them, and network and change your appearance and look terrific and communicate and build all that. It's a social year, a 3 year. So social, even if you're stuck with COVID, be as social as you can be. Join groups on Zoom. I detest it, but what are we going to do? It's better than staying home and talking to my bathroom wall. And this is another thing I've had to learn in my number 4 year, was to learn to live completely alone. And where I came from a house where we had my daughter and her boyfriend and the dog and everybody, and taking care of my husband, to now here I am. I am a widow with a husband, and it's like the weirdest situation. But you learn to adjust, you learn to adapt. And so and you learn to be social. It's like, I got to change how I'm social. So in a 3-year, be a social network as much as you can. And please change your appearance in a 3-year. Look better, get a card that tells you who you are. So this COVID is not going to, I mean, this acute phase will not last as long as you are. So go ahead and prepare for, say, May. All right. And go, so network now. And then the number 4 year is what I was in last year. It is so not a fun year. It was miserable. I also have Saturn in Aquarius, this transit, and I'm Aquarian. And it was just awful. 4 year is Saturn, and everything was serious, and I couldn't wait. Meaning it had to be done now, or it would cost you money, or it was something else. So 4 is grind, roll up your sleeves, focus, and be practical. Ugh. And so that's a 4 year. Build your platform, and all of this stuff, build your foundation in a 4 year. Roll up your sleeves, don't complain, just, it's over next year, so don't worry. And then number 5, of course, is the year of change, which is what I'm in now. And Lord knows, I hope I didn't go from the frying pan into the fire with a 5 year. Yikes, I am a 5, so, oh, we'll see. I'll report back next year. And then the 6 year, of course, is you're going to be 6 in a 6 energy. That's great. You have tremendous responsibility this year for your family. People are going to need you. Be careful you don't burn out. Be careful you don't burn out in a 6 year, because everybody needs a piece of you. And so they love you. It's nice to be needed, but after a while, please don't need me anymore. You know, leave me alone. And that's going to be the 6 energy. It's a number of marriage, divorce, and family. And so, and that's why we use the 6 months for marriages. That's why we have all our big marriages in June. It's the 6 months. And so the 6 is a lot of love, but a lot, if it's a karmic number, then you get, well, it's even more responsible. One of the things about a 6 is always, always keep your commitments, finish what you start. Okay? Finish what you start. And 6 is always, always about service. I mean, I have judges and they have a 6 life path, and they're always trying to correct social injustice. I have social workers, 6 life path. Again, trying to serve, all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to find a lot of psychotherapists that are prominent 6 because they want to help, fix, and all that stuff. So if you're in a 6 personal year, that's kind of what you'll be focused more on. 7 year, please rest, get rid of everybody, restore yourself, go off, pray, reflect, assess, don't push business, just be very good to yourself, be selfish, you know, take care of you, tell people, no, you will want to lie down. I have clients that I've said to, oh, don't push, you're in a 7 year, you know, wait till next year. Then they do. One woman, I mean, months, she wanted to sell her house. I said, no, just wait till next year. You're not that many months from it. So this was August, wait till next year. No. So she gets on the ladder to change a light, which was in the entryway. And it was massive, one of these high ceilings, you know, and, you know, zooming entryway. And she fell off the ladder, shattered her shoulder, had 19 pins, major surgery, trauma surgery, sold the house the following May. And for the same price she had listed it with in August. And I mean, I have story after story of please don't do that in a 7 year. So take it easy in a 7 year. If you're in a 7 year, take it easy, be selfish. I'll go lie on the couch. When I was in a 7 year many years ago, I had a retreat weekend plan. And when it came down to really going, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to my own retreat. And so I got a hold of a wonderful psychologist who knew the people. And I said, would you please lead the retreat? I stayed in the whole weekend and I didn't go out. I was in my pajamas all weekend. I just slept around. I didn't want to even talk to people. And that's a 7 energy. And if you over plan, you can go there and you're going to go give a program and nobody shows up. So don't do it. So take it easy in a 7 year. The 8th year is your harvest year. You want to go and go after what you need to and want to. Don't be don't be afraid to look stupid, silly, be aggressive, go for what you want, go to the top. Okay, your ship is in, find it, go, and look at people that you try to contact 8 years earlier, go back to them, see what they have for you. Because you're looking at the whole last 8 years, where can I benefit? Where can I manifest money from this? So 8 years all about money, time, energy. Okay, and as you get older, the most important asset is time. It's huge, huge. And be careful who you invest it with, because a lot of people just want to take it and waste it. So you're not going to do that, right? You're going to be very judicious about how you invest your energy, time, and money, particularly in an 8 year. It's learning the laws of manifestation. Always ask, 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 ask. Let them know on the divine invisible world what you truly want. Do your work and expect divine assistance. Always expect divine assistance. If I didn't have divine assistance, I think I'd be dead this year, because so many things happened that were out of my control, and they were so awful, and then they turned out okay, and I could never have come up with that solution in a million years. Mysterious things. So the number 9, finally you finish this whole 9 year period. You learn to let go. If you're in a 9 year, God bless you. I think they're wonderful years. They can be depressing if you hang on. If you hang on and you don't let go, then you will have an issue, okay? We have to learn to let go of this place called Earth. We have to learn. Getting in here was hard. The birthing was hard. We've got to birth ourselves back home. Okay, and so you want to learn in a 9 year how to let go. So people leave, dogs die, you know, houses finish up, marriages end, you know, you get rid of a lot of stuff at goodwill. I'm tired of this and that. You get rid of it. It's a 9 year, because you're ready. You're getting ready to go out and Johnny Appleseed next year in the 1 year. So this kind of explains what those each year of energy is. So hopefully that helps you. And I think some people were asking about how they get a hold of me. GailMinogue.com is pretty easy. And you know, love to talk to you. I'm alone. I don't want to talk to the bathroom walls. I'm tired of, I'm in this place, which is foreign to me. I had a nice big house, and now I'm in this condo that I used to rent out in the valley, and I miss the city. And I'm like, wow. And it's another world. It's like when I stepped out the first week I got here, I wanted to go for a walk, and one of the other residents says, well, you shouldn't go walk here. It's not safe. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you drive here and then you go walk. I'm like, I'm not going to drive so I can go walk. And so I found a route that I can take, and I'm not worried to get, you know, it's again, people are very fearful, and I'm not stupid. So I carry a big gun, you know, you know, no, I don't have a gun, but I have a girlfriend, the one I had dinner with the other night. She's gone out. She's bought herself a gun. And what can I say? She took whatever classes you have to take, and you get a certificate so you legally can carry it. Oh my God. And she's 76 and she's terrified, you know, so what can I say? Anyway, so here we are. Any questions for me? Should we open it up now, or what would you say there? Hi, do I have, everybody's muted still.
Mute, folks.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so let's do it this way. If you have a question for Gail, unmute yourself and ask away.
Okay.
Gail, it's a real quick question. In numerology, does your personal year start in February, for example, the date of your birth, or January 1st?
It started January, but my energy is not going to be really felt a lot, actually, for the first couple of months, as I said earlier, for everybody. Because you have to finish up that prior year. But if you're born really late, like you're born in December, you have like a combination of two energies going on for the whole year. You have the ending from the prior year, and you have the beginning coming in on this new year. So you'd have, say, a 6 and a 5 combined. The first part of the year is going to be more of a 5, and the second part of the year is going to be more of a 6.
That's
what it is. Yeah, sure.
Hello?
Any other question?
Yeah. Gail,
Yeah, hi.
Hi. If your life path number is a 6,
Yes.
there's an interest, like a correlation is just like emphasize the 6 years.
It emphasizes the 6 year. So it's more service, more responsibility, good money year,
Okay.
good money year. So, pretend that you have sprinkly Jupiter somewhere, even if it's not, but these numbers are there's, 6 is good with money. It's a good money number anyway.
Pisces rules my midheaven, so Jupiter will be passing over that. That
There
should
you
be helpful.
go. So you have that. So be set for money. Think of ways you can monetize yourself, even things you hadn't thought of.
Okay.
It's a crazy time, and people are hanging on to their money, even though they're investing in certain things or they're buying things, but they're hanging on to their money a lot because they're afraid.
Right.
But you're going to give them opportunities to be a benefit to them, and they'll want to send you money.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Gail. I'm sorry, Dominique, were you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. And it's nice to see you again. And I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
last year was so rough. There's a couple things that I want to ask you. First of all, just because this is an astrology group, I found it very interesting that you commented that you don't see things really improving until the end of the decade, because
Yeah.
we're going through a Pluto return this year, or it's starting this year. We have a Chiron, a US Chiron return after that, and then the Uranus return in 27 into 28. And so there is some corroboration with
Yeah,
what
there
you
is.
said, okay, which I find to be very, because it's something
So
that
I
I've
think
been
people should be looking at, honestly, people should be looking at 28, 29. They're all focused on this thing because that's where we are. We always need to focus on the current. But you really want to see where we're going? Look at 29.
Right. Okay. So this is the thing, though. Every year, or like this is a 6 year. Next year will be a 7. The year after will be an 8, then a 9, and then it starts over, presumably, right? To
Yeah.
a 1, right?
Right.
And so, in some senses, where are you getting that it can't be that every 6 to whatever it's going to be in 2028 is rough. What is it that you're alerting to, or that comes to your awareness, where you say, oh, it's going to clear? And why are we not going to have that same thing in the following sequence when we come back to those same numbers? Is that because we're going to be in the 3rd decade and it's going to have the 3
definitely.
overtone?
It's the 3rd decade. Yes. The 3rd decade, or the 30s, are terrific. Lots of medical breakthroughs. Lots. A lot of the things that we've wanted and needed, anti-aging or fixing macular degeneration, a lot of this is all in the 30s. It's like a new day. But we got to get through this.
I see a lot of convergence in my astrological work to 2034 and 2035, and it concerns me. But I don't know what to make of it. But I see a lot of bottle. Do you see anything happening in the mid?
Well, I haven't gone into.
Okay.
I haven't gone that deeply into it, except it's a complete reset, if you want to say, the 2030s.
So what is it about 2029? What are you saying? What's the number? I could, 2029 would be 9 and 4, so it would be 13, 4 plus whatever. Is that the 4 year you talked about as being not a fun year?
The 4 year is really where about a structure and foundation is laid. It's
So you're
really
saying
where
we'll get through all of the
foundation for what you truly want is laid, or where we're really going is laid. And that's why we really, the other things that add to it based on US, but it is a period that we have to, number one, get these people out of office. And another thing I will say is that one of the things that's going to occur is we decided at birth of this country to have like citizens representatives. Okay, so we're going to have people represent us. But we're going to assess whether we really want to have them, or whether we want direct citizen participation versus sending these representatives off who basically perform for themselves and stay in office for 50 years and come away extremely wealthy at our expense, because it's so corrupted that it's gone this way where they don't represent us anymore. They represent themselves and their interest group. So again, that's going to take time to get that out. And that's another reason why it's going to take a couple of elections. But you're going to start seeing, again, these big changes, 2030. You're going to have some amendment to the Constitution. One, at least. Whether it be term limits on Congress, but there will be, by the time we get out of the 20s, there's going to be another amendment to the Constitution. But
Either
that's,
that, either I'm an attorney. I would agree with you, or there will be a completely revisioning of American.
Yeah.
There could be a separation. There could be a.
well, the Americans themselves are
split,
going to find out what's going to happen to them if they don't, they'll get either frightened or come to Jesus meeting, whereas this too starts to permeate the citizenry. We need to learn to work together. We're gonna fall on our face, or China's going to invade, or Putin will invade. What are we going to do? We need to really start thinking about keeping this together instead of worrying about wearing a mask.
So just to be clear about something, you're not saying that things start to reset at the 1 year. You're saying it takes into the fourth cycle, which would be 2030, and maybe that switch of the decade as well. But
Yeah.
in 2029, you're saying that we need to plant the seed in 2026, which I guess is going to be the 1 year, and then we
Yeah.
need to go through the first
We need
part
to
of that
get that.
sequence.
You remember I said, well, we just plant the seed, and then we have to be very patient, and then we have to be, learn these skills of interdependence and patience and cooperation and persuasion and all of that stuff. And then they start to sprout. Then we got to weed it, because some of this stuff that's going to come out is not the best. And now we lay the foundation.
In a way, it's almost like a lunation cycle. You're saying that the 1 year is like a new moon and there's no light. We don't know what it's about. And it takes a while before we get that perspective. At least that's the way I'm interpreting what you're saying.
Well, that's one interpretation.
Yeah,
That's one.
I got it. Thanks, Gail. Appreciate your insights.
Sure, betcha. Anybody else?
I have a quick question. Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I'm looking at this beautiful picture of the sky.
Yes. I just had a quick question about 7 years, because you kind of went into what you shouldn't do in a 7 year, but I was like, well, what can you do in a 7 year?
You can assess, you can reflect on the last 7 years, assess them, see what you need to get rid of, and see where you want to move forward with what. It's a time to go to school. It's a time to do retreats, go to university, specialize, all that kind of stuff. It's a great year, as long as if you push business or you push anything hard, it doesn't go anywhere. But this is where you assess, make sure you assess. I call it assess, reflect, plan, and pray.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Year. We need it because we've been running for 6 years, right? See, when you get through the year, you're exhausted because, everything rests on the seventh day, and you do too. And that's why you have to. And if you push it, the next 2 years are not planned very well. The 8 year and the 9 year.
Perfect sense. Yep.
So the 6 year, it's very biblical this year. Any other thing before I head off?
Hi, Gail.
Yes.
Gail, this is Rita.
Hi, Rita.
3 days ago, I was sorting books and look what I came across.
Oh my God, an oldie. Wowie. Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember me, but we were at the Wilton Place.
You lived in it. I sold that house.
I remember going to say it's a beautiful house you have. Just when you're
and I hated selling it. I feel like I got thrown out. But I had to deal with the situation I had with him. So he's over here, and he's on Northridge. And the last thing in my world, I ever thought I'd be living in this condo in Reseda. And I'm like, wow. And so now I'm complaining to the city council because we have no streetlights, and they're completely out. And when they go around the corner, they're out. And we have people who leave stuff on the sidewalk, like couches and mattresses and bookcases and
yeah, they do that in the valley. Yes, but it was nice to see you, and it was really great to be at the Wilton Place Association. It's a beautiful neighborhood. Yeah,
the Wilshire has done very, very well. Wilshire Park, yeah. I remember your apartment over there. Where are you now?
I'm in Sherman Oaks.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
We should get together and have a coffee. I don't know anybody out here. I can't.
Okay.
Oh, I live right over. I live in Reseda. I live next to Reseda. I'm in Tarzana.
Oh, that's a good area.
I went back to school at 55, and I got my license as a therapist at 65, and I'm still practicing. So
good for you. I had a friend I mentioned her in my book, who passed the state bar at 65 because she wanted to help children who were abused, and she needed to be a lawyer to do that. And she took the test so many times and failed, and finally at 65 she passed. So I mean, the blueprints are long, so it's whether we will take care of ourselves so we can live that long.
Gail, this is
well.
Star.
Hi.
Star.
Oh my God. It's like old movie. How
I
are you?
know. I'm
Oh.
pretty good. I have it off because I wake up late and I look like hell.
Oh,
So
I
I
don't
don't
want to
wanna be
see you
a
then. If you
picture.
don't look beautiful, then turn it
Next
up.
time you're on. No, I did. I just don't have
Oh,
it
I'm
on.
just kidding. I'm kidding. I do that a
No,
lot.
I know.
I have to sit in my pajamas and have my coffee. Yeah,
Yeah, that's about it.
it's
I
very
do
true.
have, once in a while, I do have mini meetings, but I don't think you're interested in that. Anyway, you can be in contact with me. You have my information. I have your information, your
Well, send me
email.
something and I will respond, because
Well,
I
I'll send you
also
an
I had
email.
so many things go wrong moving in here with this computer. I had to get a new one,
Yeah,
and then I had to have somebody come in and work on it. And
I
they couldn't.
know the feeling.
Oh, it was
I
just.
don't know how to set up a Zoom, so I have to get someone to help me set up a Zoom.
That's what I did.
But I have
I don't want to deal with
meetings.
it.
I've had live meetings of people that I know very well, so that's the deal. But I won't have it till February probably. But I want to be on Zoom though.
Good for you. I'll watch.
Okay.
And it's just nice to hear from you. And you too,
Yeah.
Rita. Please shoot me off your email, okay? And I'll we'll
Okay.
get together.
Okay,
And
great.
please, anybody who's in Farzana, I
Right.
love it.
I just have a question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want you to leave because I just want to ask a question. In 2027 is going to be an 11-year year. Okay, does that?
2027?
Yeah, because it'll be a 2, a
Where
2,
are
and a
we?
7.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm like, where am I? I'm in a 6-year now. Right. Okay.
Right. So is that a 2-year or is that an 11-year, or does it make a difference? Does the
It makes
overall
a
year
difference.
change?
It makes
does.
a difference. It does.
So-
Definitely makes a difference.
So 2027 is going to be a pivotal year in a way. I mean, it's going to
Definitely.
be that. It's going to be
It's a
that.
much higher energy than a regular 2.
That.
Yes.
Okay, so it's
Much
the
higher.
patience, because we planted the seeds the year before.
Yeah, you have to let them get roots. And what
Right.
happens to people is they go out and they talk to other people about their ideas and plans, and they continue to weaken it. So it's like the farmer who says, I wonder if my seeds are growing. And he overturns the dirt, and the poor seeds never get a chance to grow. So you have to leave them alone. Don't talk about them.
Right, but
let
this is
them
not a
grow.
personal year. This is a global year.
This-
2027. Okay,
No,
so
but global year is different.
right. So what it's not an issue of talking. How do we support that year and that 11-2 energy in a collective sense? Is there a way?
Well,
to-
11 is a channeling number. And so we need to pay attention to what higher inspiration is coming through to us. It's like, what is going on here where we're so caught in the mundane garbage that we're missing? And everything is related. What brought on this COVID? Everything has a connection. And so, it's so not random. It is so not random.
So Gail, I was just
I'm s-
thinking the election year of 2024, that's an 8.
Yeah.
How does that affect all that? Money, power is an 8.
Money, power, it's going to be right there in your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 2024 has a possibility of people starting to come to their senses, starting to
good.
realize. But again, just say start. They start to
You
realize.
start. Well, start is better than nothing.
Start is better than nothing. That we can't continue on the way we have been, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So it's an 8-power year, which those are, what can I say? Power, money, authority, all that kind of stuff. Nothing small. Nothing
Okay.
small. And of course, the people that are better organized, which are the Republicans, and they've been organized with a tremendous amount of money behind them forever, or at least since the 70s. So if you start to look at the track record of a lot of stuff that's going on, you understand why it's resulted in what it is today. And, if you go back politically speaking, and what happened in the 60s spooked the Republicans so badly in the 70s to do anything to empower. So you started to see all these organizations, from the Heritage Group to all these enterprises that, and to put more Republicans on the Supreme Court, get more judges, Powell, and he ended up getting on the Supreme Court. So, I mean, this is where we are now. So,
Gail, I wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's great.
Well, I remember talking to you at the meetup group a couple of years ago, and I was going into an 8-year, and you really helped me understand what I needed to do with an 8-year. And I went through the 9-year, but now I just finished the 1 year. I figure this is my last cycle since I turned 90 this year. I figure that this is an important time, and all of those changes have really helped me to understand this whole idea of what a 1 year is, because I went out and was more assertive and did all the things that I wanted to do that I was afraid to do before.
Well, you want to, you're setting up for the next 30 years, because the blueprint's 120. So you really want to, in my husband's facility, there's a woman, I heard her on the phone the other day, and I couldn't believe she was 103. And then there's another woman who's 97. The new person who came in who tested positive, she's 97. And, it goes on and on. These people who, holy smokes, we are living, our lives are shorter now than they were a few years ago, simply because we had so much COVID, and also we have so much drug overdoses. But it's very understandable in what's been going on with our society. But blueprints are much longer than we allow, because we don't realize that. So charge on, girl.
I'm going to do that, yes.
Continue on. Good work. Thank you. Anybody else here? Rita, you're going to send me an email, okay, please, so I can.
Yes. Is your email in this?
Yeah, Gail at gailminogue.com. It's just simple.
Okay, Gail at gailminogue.com. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Right off your book.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Wow.
She's not promoting her book, but.
Yeah, but thank you. But I don't have that cover anymore. That's an old edition, but thank you.
This is 2001. Mm-hmm,
yeah,
yeah, I have that one, yeah.
Oh, thank you, all you lovely people. Thank you. So are we finished here? Do I end up?
Thank you very much, Gail. Are there any other questions?
I have a question, but it's not to Gail directly, but it's about what happened earlier.
Yeah.
And I took some pictures of some of that stuff that was flashed on because you weren't recording, and I don't really want it on my phone. But I didn't know if I should save it so that you could send it to the authorities that this is what was happening. Is that
send
making
them to me if you would.
Okay.
And then I will send them on to Zoom and any necessary authorities.
Yeah, but then I'm sending child pornography through the thing, through the.
Okay.
So I didn't know. I didn't know if I should just erase it. But on the other hand, you weren't recording at the time.
No, I was not recording at the time.
So is that? So I don't. Yeah, we don't know.
No, you would have to submit it directly to the authorities yourself to be the safest about it. Yeah. Otherwise, you could be then.
Yeah, it could be.
It's unlikely that you would be under this, and this is being recorded and all that stuff.
Wow.
You don't have the intent, but it's distribution. It is technically, and just this is not my field of expertise, but you can't help but come into contact with it. But the fact of the matter is that it's very strict when it comes to child pornography.
Right.
It's very, very strict.
So I realized that this stuff was coming on. I thought, how do we record this for somebody?
Right. So in a way, what you would want to do is either delete it or pass it on as so that it's clear. But even you being in possession of it could be a crime. So either
I just delete it on my phone. I don't know.
Or if you want to do something about it, you know, you could probably do a quick search on the internet and find out who to say, this came on in a Zoom conference, or you bring it to Zoom's attention and CC the federal government and then say, I'm deleting it now and it's in your hands and that's it. But if you send it to Jim, that could be problematic.
Yeah, true. Okay, so.
I would forward it to Zoom and let them run with it. This came across. I mean, can't you just do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, somebody said that Zoom has more power. They don't want this going on their business.
No.
I do have. You should save the link that you
Their stock
initially
price is
used.
down. So anything that gives them a bad name.
Yeah.
They, you know.
So do you think, Jim, that you would report it since you were the host?
Well, I don't have it, so.
No, I just mean in general that it was hacked with.
Yeah,
someone.
if I had recorded it, I would pass it on to Zoom and to the authorities.
You know what? I think Zoom has the capacity to look at the participants. They document. It's on their, servers. They're going to know who.
I will report it to Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see what they can do about it. For your case, Rita, I would either forward it to authorities or delete it from your phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Or
Greg,
forward
I
it
have a
and delete it.
question. What about
Yes.
like how they started to use your name or speak as you? Are we individually, were they hacking us individually, or is it just this Zoom meeting and this platform? Like, you know what I mean? That was why I jumped out. It was like, how are they getting access to us? Is that just
They can see our names, and I renamed myself with my last name, and then they used my name. They used Greg's name, so you can just rename yourself constantly. And if they had like 3 hackers, or what it was one person running 3 different Zoom links, they can just rename themselves consistently, like one of
But they're
them.
not getting any of my personal information other than my name in this Zoom meeting, right?
Probably, I would think so.
Yeah,
I would think so. I don't think there's any concern that that my credit cards are under, or anything. My financial.
Or they get your IP address, or they start sending you emails. I don't know. Just I wasn't sure what kind of.
Well, I think it's a good question. I think it's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't know enough.
I don't know either. I would just be on the alert in
Just
case
think when
something
the
weird
next
does show up.
time you do one of these programs that you set it up so that you have passwords and everything else, and it just doesn't go out to like a world audience.
Yeah, I've got some instructions on how to safeguard us for next time. So
yeah, there you go.
One will be
okay.
Should be safer.
Okay.
That is entertaining or interesting, but yes, it'll be safer.
Thank you.
What the heck is going on here? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave.
All right. Thank you so much, Gail.
Thank you.
It's great to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay.
Thanks so much, Gail.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Let's see. What do we got? Next month.
Oh, what is next month?
Next month is February. February, the Sunday the 13th. Audrey Lee is going to be talking about Mercury. And so it's our Valentine's month, so we'll probably should be bringing in some insight into communicating with others through your Mercury and their Mercury.
That's right.
Good luck. Okay.
Communicating through Mercury? Really?
Well, that's how we communicate. It's through Mercury.
I know, but still.
Yeah, but the idea is that it's your Mercury communicating with their Mercury. And so by having a better understanding of Mercury, and Mercury in your case, it can help you in communicating with others.
Right.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
We will
Thank you, Jim.
see you next month. I will have the recording of this part posted hopefully by tomorrow, Tuesday latest.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Be well, everyone.
Happy New Year,
Bye,
Jim.
Spencer. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
New Year. Thank you.